Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday night Bible study here with the West Main Church of Christ. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us watching this video. I know that there's so much material out there that you could be watching and paying attention to right now with your midweek Bible studies. And I just want to say thank you for tuning into this video. If you've been keeping up with these videos, you know that we like to start every single week off with what we call our fun topic of the week. And this week, I thought it would be really interesting to focus on food. I love food, okay? You can probably tell that by looking at me, but I love food. One of the best things about going on vacation anywhere is where you're going to get to eat. But even with people that love food like I do, you do always run across those foods that you aren't necessarily a fan of. And if there had to be one kind of realm of food that people just unanimously dislike, it's vegetables. Right? Nobody really likes to eat vegetables. Nobody sits down and goes, you know what sounds great for supper? Just a massive bowl of steamed carrots. Maybe you do, but chances are you probably don't. You want something else. And so I thought it would be fun tonight. I'm going to give you my 5 worst vegetables of all time, okay? Now, not the 5, right? These are just vegetables that I have personally eaten, that I've eaten more than once, that I dislike beyond all others, okay? So here we go. 5 worst vegetables of all time. Number 5, kale. I don't like kale. Kale can be cooked down. If you put it in a soup or something, it's not bad, but just raw leafy kale is not very good. It's bitter and it tastes kind of like dirt, to be totally honest with you. So I don't like kale really at all. Again, there are ways around it to make. That's why it's number 5, right? There are ways around it that you can eat it where it's not just absolutely horrible. But all in all, it's a pretty terrible vegetable. Number 4, Brussels sprouts. Now, if you've ever had just a raw or a steamed Brussels sprout, they're pretty disgusting. They're not fun to eat. I put these at number 4 because the top three are ones that I just can't eat. No matter how you give them to me, I can't eat them. However, Brussels sprouts, if you wrap them in bacon and stuff them with cheese and deep fry them, they're actually not that bad. But Brussels sprouts, majority of the time when you eat them, they're just not very good. Number 3, and this is where it kind of gets to the nitty gritty, right? Number 3, lima beans. I don't understand people's infatuation with lima beans. I think they're disgusting. I've never been able to eat them. I actually go out of my way to avoid lima beans if at all possible. I think they're gross. They serve no purpose to me whatsoever. Give me a can of baked beans, that's perfectly fine, but not lima beans. Lima beans are just disgusting. Number 2, second least favorite, worst vegetable of all time for me is artichoke. I know most people probably only eat artichoke within, like certain types of cheese dips or whatever, but artichokes are just gross, and they even look weird, right? People that go, and have you ever been to like a Whole Foods or a Publix or something, you've actually bought like a big artichoke, it looks like a big nasty green pine cone. And it's not appealing in any way, form, or fashion. And then when you eat it, it's just disgusting. So artichoke is number 2. Number 1, this is my least favorite vegetable of all time, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and it's pumpkin. Okay, and yes, for those of you that are going to Google fact check me, technically, on a very technical basis, pumpkin is actually a fruit, not a vegetable, but I dislike it that much that it made my list as my least favorite vegetable of all time. Pumpkin is just disgusting. I don't like anything about pumpkin. I don't like the seeds. I don't like the guts. I don't like the actual, the actual fruit or vegetable itself. I don't like pumpkin spice. I don't like anything about pumpkins whatsoever. I'll be honest, I wasn't even a huge fan of carving jack-o'-lanterns when I was a kid. So pumpkin is by far and away the worst vegetable, even though it's technically a fruit. Which again, I don't know if you said, name a fruit that people think is a vegetable, pumpkin's probably not even the first one that comes to your mind. So, but anyway, those are my 5 worst vegetables of all time. There were a bunch that could have made this list that I've had, but I haven't had them enough. Eggplant was on there that I'm not a huge fan of, but these 5 right here, they're just the worst vegetables ever. So if you like them, good for you. I don't, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree. It's not that big of a deal. Again, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I know that there are a lot of different videos out there that you could watch. This is our West Main family and youth devotional, and we really appreciate you spending some time. The sun is actually starting to come out now. I know that's super awesome, and it's been raining what seems like for the past 3 days now, but we're excited. And as we continue to progress along in this coronavirus world, there's one thing probably more than anything else that I've been missing a lot lately, and that's sports. I know most of us miss sports. We love sports. Sports is just such a big part in a lot of people's lives, whether we're just fans or we've played them. I can remember sitting in Neyland Stadium all the way back in, I think it was 2002. I was sitting there and I got to watch Jason Witten make a game-winning catch to help the Volunteers beat Arkansas in 6 overtimes, right? I've sat through some amazing hockey games in Nashville, Tennessee. I've even gotten to watch the United States national soccer team play a few times. There's just so much that comes with sports that makes everything, I don't know, exciting, right? There's so many different things that we love to cling to on sports. But I think one thing that people love just about more than anything in sports is an amazing comeback. That awesome comeback when all hope seems lost, but your team figures out a way to pull off the impossible. I was glued to the TV back in 2016 when Tennessee was down 21-3 to Florida. I remember them getting booed off the field at halftime, only to watch them come back and just throttle Florida in the second half. And even though I wasn't alive to see it, there's not a UT fan alive that hasn't heard of or watched a replay of the miracle at South Bend when Tennessee was able to beat Notre Dame. And I'm sure that whoever you root for, there are always those comeback type moments in your mind. That's just something about a comeback that gives people so much hope and so much joy. Romans 15:13 says that we serve a God of hope that should fill us with great joy and peace. And I think that's one of the things that we draw that parallel to. So tonight I want to talk about what goes into a great comeback. What do you have to have in order to make an awesome comeback? Well, really there's 3 things, okay? First off, you have to have perseverance. Right, and I thought about changing this to patience, but there's a difference between having patience and having perseverance, because perseverance is something that you constantly have to work toward, right? And it makes sense, right? Every coach has a cliche in his back pocket about, the second half is our time, or it's a 4-quarter game, or, don't stop playing until that final whistle. Because any kind of comeback that you see, whether it's sport-related or something else, it takes the maximum amount of effort in all areas of whatever discipline that you're referring to. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 8 says, "We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not driven to despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed." A really beautiful verse there in 2 Corinthians that lets us know, not assume, but know that a comeback is always possible no matter how desperate situations may seem in our lives. And it requires that perseverance that allows us to come out victorious. Matthew 24:13 says, "But the one who endures till the end will be saved." It takes perseverance. Paul knew that, Jesus knew that, and so much of what comes into a good comeback is not giving up, going one play or one drive or one step or whatever it is after another, continuing to do it over and over and over again to the best of your ability with some awesome results in the end. So you have to be able to have perseverance. You have to have that dedication to do something over and over again if you want to have a successful comeback. Number 2, you have to have a good game plan. Now, there's a difference between playing loose and just winging it. No team ever went into a game to just wing it and came out on top. That's how teams like Appalachian State beat Michigan, or teams like Louisiana Monroe beat Alabama. You have to have a proper game plan. That's why you see coaches and players and staff, there's so much emphasis on watching film, studying your opponent, being sure that you put in the proper preparation in order to have that perseverance should your back be up against the wall. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8 says, "Be vigilant." Some translations say be watchful or be prepared, because your adversary the devil walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Ephesians chapter 6 discusses putting on the whole armor of God and being prepared to fight that spiritual fight. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 15 says, "Be diligent to present yourself to God as one approved." Somebody who is prepared, correctly handling the word of truth. The great news for you and for me is that we have access to the good news, the single greatest playbook that we could ever have the ability to look at, and that is the Word of God. And the last thing you need, if you want to pull off a successful comeback, you have to have support. You have to have somebody backing you up. You have to have the ability to rely on those who are supposed to encourage you. When was the last time you witnessed an epic comeback in sports in front of an empty stadium? And I don't mean like because coronavirus isn't allowing fans to be at sporting events right now. I mean before all the crazy happened. When was the last time that there was a massive comeback for an empty stadium? Sure, some fans trickle out toward the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, because it looks, a little bit weary, and some of them have a pretty far way to drive after the game, but the majority of the stadium is usually full. And the people that have stuck around are going as crazy loud as they possibly can to let their team know that they are standing behind them. You have to have support. And we've talked about it on these videos before. Galatians 6 verse 2 says, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." We're part of a community that is supposed to support each other. Luke chapter 6 verse 38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." We have to be able to support one another. We have to be able to let each other know that if a comeback is possible, it's going to take more than just one person putting forth that effort, and we're going to need the encouragement. Even if your support just means not making it harder for everybody around you. You see, the truly great players, there are a lot of really good players, but the truly great players are the ones that want to play but can set aside their ego long enough and realize when they're doing more harm than good for their team. Playing injured is one of those things that we always kind of admire, right? Well, he played through adversity. But the great players are the ones that not only can make a difference, but realize when they are hindering the team more than enabling their team to be successful. And it seems like that right now, everybody, all anyone can think of is a comeback. A comeback to normal, to society, to school, to sports, to church. And I don't know when or what that will look like, but I will say this, that while we wait, we have to remember that we have a job to do as Christians. As people of God, we have responsibilities that do not stop just because that we're living in the time of a virus. There's a much more important comeback that we need to be getting ready for. So don't let the waiting lull you into a sense of complacency or allow you to forget that there's always a position where we need support, a game plan, and perseverance. Thank you again so much for tuning in with us. If you're part of our West Main family, remember that we are sticking around just for a couple of minutes because I have a few announcements for you. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found it encouraging. All right, West Main family, these are just a few announcements that I have for you all. Not a lot today. I do want to remind everybody who was supposed to go to Horizons. We know that Horizons has been shifted to completely online. Okay, the deadline to re-register for Horizons and to designate what you want to do with your $100 deposit, the deadline for that is June the 1st. Okay, June the 1st. If you do not log back on to FHU EDU, I think it's /Horizons, if you do not log back on and re-register for Horizons online by June the 1st, you're out of luck. Okay, there's absolutely nothing I can do at that point. So please do that, and please, please, please let me know if you or your child are planning on doing the online portion of Horizons. Also, I want to encourage everybody to stay connected to Facebook. That's where a lot of our announcements have been going as things develop throughout the course of the week. So I think last Sunday night singing, that was originally put out there on Facebook. So things like that. Stay connected to Facebook so you can stay in the know. We're doing our absolute best to inform you all as soon as we get information in. I know that Maywood is doing a virtual third week, and like I said, that's where I'll be able to put most of that information out there as well. Be sure to stay connected to each other, okay? I don't know how much I could possibly emphasize this, but to call, to text, to send cards, to check in on one another. We have to be able to support one another through a very difficult time. So stay in touch. If you need anything at all, please, please, please call me or Carrie or one of our deacons. Let us know what you need, and we'll do our absolute best to help you in any way that we can, okay? Everybody stay safe. I hope that you had a great holiday weekend. I hope that we continue to push through this together. I love you all, and I can't wait to see you again.